Hey everybody, and welcome back to the DevMarketer channel. I'm your host, J.A. Curtis. Now today's video is all about image upload. So we're going to be diving into this video here in just a second. Real quick, I'm not going to be able to do like picture-in-picture on this video. I'm still working on getting my screencasting software to work on my new Macintosh. It still doesn't work. I'm waiting for an update to happen so I can do that. So as of right now, I'm going to have my hands tied behind my back a little bit. I'm going to do my best. The image is going to be full screen. I'm not going to be able to zoom in and out or do anything like that without the image screencasting software that I have. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now this video is all about image upload. Ever since we finished authentication, everyone's been asking for image upload. How do we upload images? How can we get an image into our blog posts and stuff like that? So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now over there on Twitter, for those of you guys that don't follow me on Twitter, you really want to. You've been missing out on a lot of good stuff. I make a lot of announcements over on Twitter. That's kind of my best channel to communicate with you guys right now. I know I'm trying to get the email list up and running. Those of you guys that don't think you're on the email list, you are probably if you've requested it. I just haven't done an email yet. Hopefully that happens this week, and that'll allow me to better communicate with you guys as well. But anyway, over on Twitter, I asked you guys if you want local storage image upload or Amazon S3 image upload, and overwhelmingly everyone wanted local storage. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today, is focusing on local storage. We're going to bring in a library to work with it, and it's going to be actually pretty easy. So let's go ahead and dive into the video and get started on this. All right, guys, now before we, of course, dive into our application, I just wanted to let you know about a few things. Since this is a beginner series, I'm assuming you guys don't know a whole lot about image upload, and so I just want to explain a few things so that if you run into trouble here in this tutorial, this will help you a little bit as you go on to Stack Overflow and stuff like that. First of all, if you have problems with this tutorial specifically, you can obviously leave a comment down below in the YouTube comments. That way, if other people are having the same problem, I'll keep an eye on the comments, try to help. Everyone else can try to help as well. And then other people that are having the same problem might be able to, it might save them a little bit of time as well, because if people are having the same problem, it'll be down there in the comments. So if you run into trouble, go check the comments first, make a comment about your problem if it's not already in the comments, and we can all help each other. Okay. Now, another thing that I want you guys to understand is that we're actually there are a couple ways to add images or any type of file uploads to your system. Okay, so first thing is you can obviously do it on the server side, which is what we're going to be doing today, or you could do it on the client side. So keep that in mind when you're trying to decide about what's going on with your image upload, or maybe how you want to use image upload, that there are multiple ways to run an image upload. You can do a client side image upload, which means that when the user basically has his image upload input, his button or whatever, he can click and upload it without refreshing the page. Okay, so using JavaScript, he'll upload it usually directly to like Amazon S3 or something like that, and it just streams the image directly up there to save before you actually submit the form or something like that. Okay, so that's one way. That's the client side. The way we're doing it today is on the server side. This is the Laravel side. They're going to submit the form. The file will be submitted with the form, and then we're going to save it into our storage method. Okay? Now, there's, of course, multiple ways to store on the server side. One of those ways is the built-in Laravel way, the file system way. Okay? So file system is a facade inside of Laravel. It uses this storage facade. It allows you to put and get contents directly through Laravel and through it's kind of an easy way to do it. So you can see here, you can get the file through using the storage facade. You can also put the file right here through the storage facade. So this is one really easy way to handle file uploads, and it works really good with PDFs, Excel files, and stuff like that. We're actually not going to be using this today because with images, I find that it's not the best way to handle images, because this system here is a basic like storage system. It doesn't really have anything set up for us to to like manage, resize, get extensions of the image and stuff like that. So having an image system is ideal when you're working with images, because there's all these other things we have to do with images that we don't have to do when we're just uploading PDFs or something like that. So this is a great system for doing things like PDFs. We're going to be using today something called image intervention, okay? So you can find this over on image.intervention.io, and this is a very popular Laravel library for handling images, and this is what we're going to be installing today. It's another package that we can install through Composer. This allows us to do additional things like resizing the images and adding a watermark and stuff like that. Okay, so there's a lot more power to this one that you don't get with the built-in Laravel package, okay? So again, on the server side, there's multiple ways to do it. If you run into problems, you're gonna wanna search image intervention, not the Laravel file system facade, okay? Because that's not what we're using today. Okay, that's basically everything. Let's dive into this and let's get this project started. First thing, let's go ahead and just, since we know we're going to be using this, let's go ahead and install this. So you can see here, read the installation guide. We're going to come down here and you can see how you install it with Composer. You do Composer, require image intervention. So let's go ahead and grab this here. We don't need php composer.far because we already have Composer installed correctly. I don't know why they've got that. Let's go ahead and clear this. We're making sure we are in our project, and we're gonna run Composer, require, we already have require. We're gonna do Composer, require, intervention, image. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and click save on this. It's gonna run in the background here. While it's running, updating, and getting all the files, which can take some time, we're gonna go ahead and actually start setting it up with the service provider and the alias, okay? So let's just let this run in the background. I'm gonna put it over here. And then we're going to work over here. And you can see now when you see below Composer installation that there's a Laravel installation as well. You can integrate in Laravel with a service provider and an alias. So we've done this before. This is nothing new, guys. You know, we've added the service providers and we've added these aliases. So we know how to do it. So we do all this in our config.app. So let's do it. So let's copy this. And let's go over to our providers and add it into our providers. So we go into config, app.php. We scroll down. Here's all of our providers. Again, nothing new for us. We're going to paste this in. Let's add a comma at the end. And then now we need to add our alias down here. The alias is like a facade to make it easy to access. So let's go ahead and get that set up. We're going to copy all of this. And then we're going to go back over here and paste it. And this allows us to access all of the image intervention stuff using the image facade, which is sweet. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We're all set. We now have it installed successfully. In our terminal, we can see we've finished it. So we're ready to start using image intervention. Okay, now one other thing I want to talk about before we actually start uploading our images is where are we going to save our images? That's a very, very important question to think about before you really get too started on this. There are two main places you can store an image. If you're doing local file system. And of course, I did ask you guys on Twitter if you're more interested in doing local file upload or like a cloud file like Amazon S3. So we're going to be doing local file because overwhelmingly you guys all wanted local file upload. Now, when saving it locally on the server, that means we're actually saving it into a folder here on the server. So it's actually going to physically be here with all of our other files. So the main place you might think to install it is in the storage folder. You can see that inside the storage folder, we have an app. And this is a great place to store files, especially files you want to kind of keep protected from the internet. You don't want someone just finding your file on the internet and downloading it. This is a great place to do it because this folder is not accessible to the outside world. Okay, so that's what's great about this is it's not available to the public. It doesn't have a URL. It's protected behind all of that. The downside is it makes it, because it's not available to the world, that means we have to do custom, like almost like API requests in order to get it. So we're not going to be doing that in this video because for images, it actually makes sense to put them in the public folder. When you're putting it in the public folder, you're actually going to end up getting a URL to your image, just like kind of any other image that you're used to on the internet. Since these are images for our posts, it makes complete sense to have it available here. It makes it crawlable by Google, all that great stuff. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So you keep in mind, you can put it in either place. It gets a little trickier when you put it in storage because you've got to kind of make some special routes in order to access it. So, but we're going to be focusing on the public folder today. Now we need a folder to put it in inside of our public folder. So let's go ahead and click new file. Oh, not new file. cancel that. Let's do new folder. And inside the new folder, we're going to make another folder called images. All right. So the images folder is going to be, obviously, going to store all of our images inside of here. Okay. And so what this is going to do is if we went to our let's see, we go to Chrome here. What it's going to give us, actually here we got our project. It's going to give us a URL, basically like images/12345.jpg or something like that. Okay. So that's basically what it's going to give us. And this URL then is going to always link directly to the public image. All right. Okay. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. So now that we got that out of the way, let's actually set it up. Okay. So first thing, what do you think we need to do in order to set up image upload in our posts? Okay, so we're going to be doing a featured image for our post. What do we start with? Well, probably we want to start by going to our resources, grab a view, and actually create an input field where we could actually upload the file to begin with. So let's start with that before we actually get into the logic of it and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's head on over to our resources, views. We're going to go do this inside of our posts.create, okay? Because we're creating a brand new blog post, so we want to be able to add an image in here. Okay, so we do create. And now you can see we open up our form here, and we've got all of our fields. So let's go ahead and add it in here. It makes sense to kind of add it. Let's see, we've got our slug, we've got our category, we've got our tags. So it makes sense to kind of add it before the body, but after the tags. So let's kind of add it in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a label first. So we're going to do form label, and the label we're going to call it image, or let's do it featured image, like that. And then the second parameter, we're going to give it the actual value. We're going to say upload featured image, like that. All right. Next, we need to actually create the input field. Okay, so we can do that if you're using the form helpers. You can do form file, and then you just give it the name of the file, which is going to be featured image. Okay. So this is going to give it the actual name. This is how we access it on the request on the back end. Okay. All right. So that's all it takes to create a file. And the last thing we need to do is anytime you create a form that's going to allow image upload or any file upload, you need to tell it that when you open the form. Okay. So up here in our form open, we need to pass in a second parameter that says files and set it equal to true, like that. All right, this basically tells it to allow file uploads. If you don't do this, it's basically going to submit the form, but leave this out of it. Okay, it's not going to submit that with the request. Okay, now if you're not using form helpers, what you're going to want to do, you're basically going to have something like this. You're going to have form action equals whatever. Method's going to be like post, and then you're going to need to set up something called enc type. Okay, this is like the encryption type, and the encoding type, and you're gonna wanna set it to multi-part /form data. Okay, so it needs to be this exactly, and then you'll close your form or whatever. All right, so this is what you need to do if you're not using form helpers. You need to add this into the top of your form. All right, now for those of you guys using form helpers, you're all good with this, because when we add files equals true, it adds that part to our form when we open the form. Okay, so now we're good to go with this. Let's actually head on over to our actual project here, and let's create a new post. So when we create a new post, now you can see that upload feature image is here. We can click this, we can upload an image, and it adds it into our little choose file thing. Of course, this looks a little different for Windows, but you guys get the idea. Okay, so this is what we've added, and then because inside of our page source, when we go to our form now, you can see now that right now our encryption type is multi-part form data. So that part was added for us because we did files equals true. Got it? Okay, so that's basically all it takes to get our form working. So now our form is good. If we upload a file, we submit it, it's gonna send the file as part of the form or the request, okay? So it's gonna be put with the post request, and it's now gonna be available to us in our controller. All right, so now how do we actually take that file and save it into our public folder? That's basically what we want to do at this point, right? Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So in order to do that, obviously we need to go over to let's just close our views for now. Let's head on over to our controller. So app HTTP controllers, and we're going to be doing this in the post controller, right? Okay, and then this obviously is going to save it on the store request. So let's go down to store. This is where it actually grabs it and saves it into the database, saves all the other information into the database. And it's here that we actually want to save the image with our, with the post, because the image belongs to the post. So we want to save it into with the other post data. All right. So you can see here we save all the other columns, and we actually save it here. So right here in the middle would be a perfect place to save our form, right? Well, or save our image and attach it to this here. Well, the problem here is we haven't actually set up our database yet to accept the image. So let's start that before we actually get into this stuff here. Let's create a new migration that's going to accept our image, our file name for our image, so that we can find the image associated with the post when we actually go to save it and do it on the front end. Okay, so let's go ahead and head on over to our terminal. We're gonna go to PHP artisan make migration. We're gonna call the migration add image column to posts. All right. And then after that, we're going to do, before we click enter, we're going to do space and then dash table. And we're going to say table equals posts, like that. And when we click enter now, what it's going to do is create the new migration, but it's going to kind of set it up to already point to the posts table. So we can just add another column into the post table. All right. So let's just real quick look at the post table. Do I have my SQL Pro open? I do. All right. So here's what here's what it currently looks like. Let's just refresh real quick. This is what our table currently looks like. We have the title, the body, the slug, the category, and then the timestamps. So what we want to do here, probably it doesn't really matter, but I kind of like to have it here. We want to have a column that has our images, okay? Where we want to store the file name for our image that's associated with the post so that we can, show it on the front end. So that's what we're going to do today, is just create that column. So let's go to our migration real quick and get that put in there. So we're going to go to database migrations over here, and inside of here we're going to create another column. We're going to call table string. This can just be a basic string, and we're going to call it image. Okay, simple like that. So the name of the column is image, and I'm also going to make this nullable, and nullable just means optional. Okay, so basically it's not required, and the reason for this is because if you don't want to upload an image with the post, you shouldn't have to. So we're just going to make it nullable. And then you don't need this part, but if you're using MySQL, you can tell it where to put the column. And I'm going to tell it to put the column after slug. Okay? That way it just gets put, it'll get put between slug and category ID. All right? So that's all we need to do for that. Down here, we can just drop the column when it's on the down function. So we'll do table, drop column, and we're going to do images or image. And that's all we need to do for that. We can go and save this, and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and migrate, run the migration. We're at the end of the series, guys. We are literally, this is the second to last video. The next video is deployment. So hopefully you guys are just like, yeah, this is easy, Alex. I'm kind of like not explaining migrations anymore because you guys should know it, because we're over. This series is over. PHP artisan migrate will run the migration. Once it's migrated in our database, we should now have a column for image. Sweet. They're all null, obviously, so none of these are set to anything, but that's okay. They just don't have blog posts. Simple as that. Okay, let's head back over to here now. Now we have a place to store our image, okay? Well, we have the place to store it is actually this is the important thing to think about, is that you're actually storing the image here inside your public folder inside of images. That's where we're actually going to store it. In the database, though, is where we tell, that's where we tell it which image belongs to this post, okay? So the post isn't, or the image actually isn't stored in the database. The image is stored elsewhere, and then the database just tells it where to find the image. That's kind of the point of the database. Okay, so let's go ahead and save the image here. Now, what we want to do here is we don't know if someone's going to have an image in their in the request. So what we want to do is do an if statement here, and we're going to look into the request, and we're going to see if they have an image. So we're going to say has file, and then we're going to call it featured image. Okay, IMG, I think. Let's see here. Let's go double check the bullet form real quick. Okay, we actually did image. We spelled it out. So let's go ahead and spell it all out. There we go. Okay, so we're saying request has file featured image. We're seeing if the request has a file called called featured image in it. If it doesn't have it, then we'll skip over it and just save, and we won't have a file to put in. But if it does, then we want to obviously store the file. Okay, so what we need to do here is we're actually going to first of all grab the file. So we're going to call it image, and we're going to grab this out of the request. So we're going to say request. We're going to grab the file called featured image, just like that. And then down here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a file name for this. Now, the reason we're creating a file name is because if you don't create a file name, by default, whatever the person that uploaded the image named their file, that's how it would be saved unless we rename the file. And so that's really important that we take the file and rename it, because if a bunch of people all upload a file called image01 or something like that, you could end up with having conflicts inside of your project. Okay, so it's a really good idea to name it, and it's also a really good idea to name it unique. Okay, so there's lots of different methods to come up with like a unique file name, but the easiest one that most people use are timestamps. Okay, so you'll do like timestamp. Another popular one is like if you already had a post ID, which we don't have yet, you could also just grab like the post ID. And different things like that. There's different methods you can do. You're just trying to come up with a unique name that won't be repeated. One of these is doing timestamps, because the timestamp will never be repeated again. So you can just take the timestamp, and then we're going to give it the file extension. So I'm giving it a dot, but that's not the dot for the file extension. This is just to concatenate. It's to put the strings together. And then we're going to actually do quotations and then a dot in quotations. So we're taking the timestamp, we're adding a dot to it, and then we're adding another dot, but that's not actually adding a dot to the file. It's just concatenating. And then we're going to actually grab the file extension of the original file. Okay, so we don't want to change the file, the extension on the file. We need to keep it the same. So if they had a PNG, we keep it as a PNG, a JPEG, whatever. And so in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to take image, and we're going to run. It's called get client original extension. I'm making sure I spelled it right. Get client original extension. Okay. Now this method will just, as it says, it will get the extension that's in the file. Okay. The original one that hasn't been altered. Now there are, and so like if it's a JPEG image, it'll just output JPEG. So then we'll have our timestamp dot JPEG. Okay. Now, of course, you can re-encode it. If you needed to rename the file and have them all be like PNGs or something, you can use encode. And this is part of, and then you could do like PNG. And then it would re-encode it as a PNG. So that's another option that you can do. But keep in mind that puts a lot of tax on the server. Okay, so all of these, the encoding, these are all part of the image intervention library, okay? So all these things we're running on the image are image intervention functions. So you don't get these with pure Laravel. You have to bring in that library, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so now we've got a file name. We've created a file name for it. We haven't actually renamed it. We just compiled a file name that we want to call it. And then the next part that we want to do is choose a location. So let's create a location for it. We're going to set location equal to, we're going to, if you were storing it inside of your storage folder, you could do storage path like this, and then app / posts or something, whatever. Because we're storing it in the public folder, we're going to do public path. Okay, so we're going to do public path. This is going to take us directly to the public path. This is the absolute location of the public path, not the URL. This is the actual location. This is like on your file system. That's the difference. That's why we're using public path and not something like asset. Oops. We're not using asset. Asset actually creates a URL. It's the URL path, which we don't want. We want the direct path, okay? The file path. Okay, so this takes you the path to the public folder, to this folder right here. And then we just need to tell it where to go after it gets here. So we just need to go to images, basically. So let's just call it images, like that. And then the next part, we want to just add the file name to it, okay? So let's just add now the file name. So we already created the file name. We got to spell it right. But we already created the file name. So now we're just saying, hey, we want to save the location of this image. And we're not actually saving it. Remember, we're just getting it set up here. But we're creating a location that's the public path / images / the name of the file, which we created up here. Okay. Now the last part, this is actually where all the magic happens. Okay. We're going to use that image facade that we created, and we're going to make an image out of it. Okay. So we're going to take the image that we have up here. We create an image object. That's what this make does. It creates an image object. And then we can pass in any other settings that we need. In this case, we're going to resize the image, and we're going to resize it to 800 by 400. Okay. So this is 800 wide by 400 high. We're just going to resize it. That way, if they upload like a 2000 pixel image thing, it's not going to break our application. We're going to resize it to the size that we need. All right. So now that we have it in there, what we're going to do is we're just going to tell it to save, and we tell it where to save. And that's now when we pass in our location. Okay. So the location, remember, has the public path and the image and the file name. Okay. So this here takes our image, resizes it to where we want, and then saves it at this location. Now with this line being done, we could actually start uploading images, and it would actually take the image we upload, store it inside of this image folder, and it would actually work right now just as it is. We could save this and start doing it. All right. But remember what I said before, you actually, just because you save the file doesn't mean you can use it later. You have to do two things. You have to first of all save the file, which we've done, but now you also have to put it in the database. You're not putting the file in the database, but you have to make sure the application can find the file later, okay? And in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use our post. We're going to put this in the post database in the image column, and we're going to set the image column equal to file name. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to save the name of the file inside of this post column, this image column inside of our post database, and that way later we can get the extension or the name of the file by just calling post image. Okay, so that's how we're going to find it later. Is we're going to go into the image folder, and then we're just going to grab the file name from this column. Okay, so you have to remember you save the image, and then you have to save what the image is basically in the database, so we know. And again, this isn't the image, this is just the file name. Okay, so now we're done. When it gets done here, it's going to save the file. We should have everything that we need. We actually should be good to go. Now, because we used image here, we do need to make sure we get we import it here. So we're going to import image. But honestly, that's basically everything that we need at this point. So let's go ahead and test it out. So let's head on back over to our project. We're going to go to Google Chrome. I'm going to refresh this real quick, and let's create a post. We're going to call it image post. Image post. Perfect. Let's just give it an update. Give it a tag, and then we're going to pass in a file. Okay, so let's just give it, this is one of the, you guys may have watched this a while ago. This is the reCAPTCHA for Laravel. If you guys wanted to learn how to add reCAPTCHA to Laravel, this is just an image I made way back in the day. All right, so let's go ahead and just upload this image. So I clicked upload. You can see now it's called part1-recaptcha.png. That's what I named it, but that's not how we're going to save it because we're going to rename it later. So let's create a post here. This is our first image post. We are so awesome. I love DevMarketer. Okay, so now we can obviously just bold this. We can do all of our fancy text editing. And now we're going to click Create Post. Okay, so when we click Create Post, we say, it says success. The blog was successfully saved. Sweet. We know it was saved. Of course, we don't see the image because we haven't told it how to output the image. Okay, but let's just make sure the image is there. All right, so it says success. Everything looks good. Let's go back over to our project and see if it actually saved the image. It doesn't actually seem like it did. Okay, so I actually see what I did wrong here. We spelled featured image wrong, so we never went inside of this if statement. Okay, so we got to spell featured image right. So what it did here is it looked to see if there was a file in, that was named featured image like this, and it didn't find it, so it just skipped over it and made a post without it, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and just fix that, save it. Let's head back over and try this again, okay? So let's make a new post. We're gonna create a new post. We're gonna call it second image attempt. Okay, let's just set this up again. All right, now let's upload our image. So we're gonna click this again. Let's grab this image, click upload, and then now we're gonna make a post. All right, so now that we got that, let's just give it some styling. Like this. Okay, perfect. And now let's go ahead and create the post. So now it says successfully saved. Again, we're not going to see the image yet. That's not surprising. But if we come back over here, you can see now that we've actually got the image in here, and it saved the image that we expected to have. So it's actually now saved the image into our local storage. Now let's head on over to our blog or our database. And if I click refresh, you can see this post was added. Of course, it didn't work. But this post, you can see now we have the timestamp.png, which matches the other in structure, and that's inside of our image column, okay? So now we actually have a successful image upload. We're uploading the image, we're saving it in our storage, and now we know where to find it later because we put it into our database. So now the last part that we need to do is actually display it to the user. So let's do that real quick. We can actually just head on over to, let's see, we're gonna wanna show this on this page right here, right? So this is on the blog. So let's go to our blog view. What we do is go to resources, views, blog, and then single.blade.php. So this is where we show the single blog post. Up here is where we actually output all the information. We get the title, the body, the category name. So let's put the image above the title here, right here, just to kind of show the featured image, and then we'll have the title and the text below it. So let's create an image tag. And we're gonna actually create the source of the image is going to go to, let's see, it's gonna be, we can do our blade here. It's gonna be an asset, an image asset. So we're gonna do asset, images, slash, and then now inside of here, we can do, make sure add that period so it concatenates. We're gonna grab the file name, okay? So we're gonna do post, image, and that will grab the file name, okay? So asset basically links us, it gives us the public URL to the public folder. And then images puts us into now, puts us now into the image folder. And then we now add the file name from the database, okay? Which will give us this here. Okay, so now that we got all that, let's go through, save this, and let's view it in the browser. So let's head back over here. We're gonna just refresh. And now we've refreshed it, and it saved it all. Now it looks like we have a problem here. It killed our header, so I think it's because, yeah, we forgot to finish the image. So let's get that real quick. Let's set the height to 400. Let's set the width. Let's set the width to 800. And then we're going to do, that's all we need. So then let's close it. And now everything should work. It shouldn't break everything. So let's go back over to our project and refresh again. Now it looks a lot better. So it's got all of our stuff in here. This is acting correctly. And then this is loading. All right. So there you guys go. We now have image upload in our project. This is something you guys were really excited about. Hopefully this made sense. It's actually not nearly as hard as you would think it is. We've now got all of our images stored in our public folder here. We have direct URLs to them. If we inspect this here, you'll see that the image source now is localhost 8000/images/png. If I actually just grab this URL here and go into, and just do the URL, this is now the URL to that direct image, okay? So once you go live with your project, you'll have, like myblog.com or whatever, /images/this, and this will be now your direct URL to your images, okay? So hopefully you guys found this fun and interesting. Hopefully you learned a lot and it made sense. If you guys ran into problems, go ahead in the comments below, leave a comment of the problems you had, and we'll try to help you guys out so that you guys can all get through this part. Okay, so we are literally at the end of this project file. Okay, so we've been working on this blog for quite some time. I know we could keep adding features forever. Everyone always wants to add more features and wants to learn more and more. You guys want to learn, and I totally get it. I am got to put an end at it at some point. We want to wrap up this series so we can start other series and get into new topics. Some people are getting bored with it, and I just kind of want to put an end to it. So we've finished image upload now. We've got our comments. We've got everything. The next video is going to be all about deploying our application to the internet so we can actually have this on the internet. All right. After that, we're going to be doing some, we'll be starting an e-commerce project where we do an e-commerce store. We're going to tie in billing so that you can charge people. We're going to learn about how to use different services so we can charge, so that we can do all sorts of stuff. Shipping, we're going to learn about APIs. We're going to do some stuff with JavaScript in the next project instead of just Laravel like in this project. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up. Be sure to stay tuned. If you guys have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can learn as much as you can about Laravel. And then also one more plug, if you haven't, you may want to go over and watch me on livecoding.tv. I do a lot of sessions over there. If you're wanting more and more videos and I'm not uploading enough videos fast enough, you may want to go over to livecoding.tv/JACurtis. You can watch me on there. I'm doing videos almost every single day for 2 or 3 hours. So there's a lot of content you can watch between YouTube and livecoding.tv. I'm not stopping YouTube. It's just live coding is where I'm working on like real projects, like real world projects. And I just code live. You guys can watch me. It's like sitting in the chair next to me, basically. You guys can watch me. You can talk to me through chat, and I'm replying to you guys. We have great discussions over there. The people that are on livecoding.tv right now with me, I think, are having a blast. They're all dying to get the next, for me to stream every single day. So it's a lot of fun. If you're looking for more content, be sure to head over there as well. And then you can always know when I go live by either following me on livecoding.tv. They send you an email when I go live. Or you can follow me on Twitter, and then I tweet whenever we go live. Okay? So just another thing to think about. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope you guys found this very valuable. I'm going to see you in the next video. We're going to deploy this project to the internet, and then we've got a ton of awesome content coming up after this. So make sure you stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't. Okay? I'll see you guys in the next video.